Hello, this is Gerald Jovavas. In this series of videos, I explain you why letter positions are really a kind of orientation, and this orientation is the reason why there's also a certain form that can be associated from that position. And I will give you a little bit more explanation why certain letters are chosen for a word. They're not chosen very consciously, but they still fit, and we make them fit so that they will feel also more natural. Almost in that way, it remains mostly quite unconsciously, but once you start to understand these positions, you also understand, yeah, why you don't have really too many options to get a right picture of what you're expressing. And most of the times, when you really understand it, it's also almost the best picture that you can imagine from what you mean really with that word. I will go for vegetables again, and I will explain onion. In the left you have the books that prepared me also to go to the logic of letters, and in the right you have the so more or less the resume of the whole system of orientations. Three sorts of orientations in space, time, or in the context that makes the time and space position, into 3 times 3 positions, so from the middle to the sides, in all these positions that are possible in 1, 2, 3 points, or in 1, 2, 3 directions, or in 1, 2, 3 feedback pushes actually. And that's and the combinations of these positions are very well and very practical to start to combine features together and understand why we choose these letters. And I will go for onion. Of course, explaining the letters is something that you also have to learn to recognize and so on. But I will try to guide you a little bit so that you understand how we can interpret these letters well. We will start, of course, with the letter O, and I will give you a bit more context. So where is it in the system? And I will read out the system and where it is and how you have to read it and how you have to associate it, and a bit more explanations as in other videos. So the 3 categories, in which category do we find it? In the second category. So this is the category of timing, of movement, of change. So that will be involved. That's the context in which it will be involved. Then in which position is it? It's also in the okay, it's in the second level, but it's on the first stage, which also says it has a physical or spatial starting point. So it is also, that's the kind of orientation. Why there are these 3 positions, 1, 2, 3, is actually basically from the start, from here to here, we associate things differently. If we have it from the start, we have the association and the tendency to say, okay, we start from something physical, in space, we have an orientation. Once it's going away from that, we associate it with going away, with changes and so on, with material that is unfolding. And also unfolding in time. So we start to think differently. The third region of thinking is the border. So until where can we see? Until where we have can we follow something? So what do we can do to keep on following it? It's context based. So these 3 regions, they are there everywhere in all kinds of positions. So you have to read them that way. That takes time. I give you options also how you can read them. I read them differently also now and then, just to make it you used to the structure and not to the puzzle pieces. It's a structure, need to get used to the structure and to read it into the 1, 2, 3 positions, because that's how the mind puts the order there. So here, so that's why I associate it also with a physical starting point, which you have there. So you have that starting point, which is already breaching the physical realm, because the physical realm, so where you see the spaces, are the first 9 letters from A, T, K, U, L, B to C, M, and X. That's the physical space, all the orientation in space. In that second category, in the second region, the second category, it is about timing. So you have that you breach Here you see it, you breach that spatial frame where you only have the spatial frame, and you come into that region or where in that part it's I will say it's probably underneath. It's still starting from a phase, a spatial and physical area, so that kind of orientation, but already a little bit more up. It's going to look at what is changing here, what is really changing here compared to the letters that are comparable to that place where I start. The letter D, if you read it in my system, it's on the first level. All the letters from the first level also start from space. The second level actually is no longer about space, but about timing. Timing is that green area, so it is completely about timing. But because it's on the number one place, the focus will also be like, okay, but where do we still start from space? That's the starting point for where we can see space, also the ending space. So it is, it starts somewhere in space, but already in the environment of the space, in the environment. That's the way I can explain it in many different ways, but here you can see the comparison. The D, the O, and the G are all starting points. These are the first position. The D in space, and it remains in space. It's that movement, also with a timing in space, so it is a movement in space. O is also starting point in space, but it's about the timing itself. Here we start to measure timing, the green arrow. Here we start to measure, so it is in the environment, and we start to measure timing. The G is also there, it's in the timing schedule, but it is already detached from the spatial orientation. It's at the borders, it is seeing like what can we still time that we don't know very well anymore. We don't have a real attachment to the physical. We are detached from the physical, but we can still time things. When you know these associations, you can understand these letters better. It takes a while. Here I go for a bit more explanations. If you don't understand all the explanations, you can still understand the end result of onion. So don't panic if this is a bit too difficult to remember and so on, and also because I explain it differently each time. It's because I use the structure. I use the structure and I explain the structure, but that's the way how it works, and it can be self-explanatory. So here in O, the timing itself matters. It can be reached from space. It deals with its surroundings, and it finds also two stages of perspective. Why two? In physical space, you have only one focus. In timing, because it's in the middle. In timing, you need these two focuses because you're aware of what is changing and so on. So you need that timing. So you always need two stages also. In timing, you need before, after, and that kind of things. O is focusing because it's focused upon a point in space, in the environment in space. It will focus mainly on what is defining the moment. It's that moment in the beginning where you start to see it, where you start to see an evolution, and where you also start to see an end result, the moment. There are three moments even in O possible, but all defined by the moment. If we put that spatial orientation in it, you have all these moments. It's like a clock actually, beginning, ongoing with the O thing, or the ending. The timing itself matters, and that is O, and it's the starting point of timing. It can be reached from space. It deals with its surroundings, and it finds two stages of perspective. So you have the O is I focus upon that timed frame, so I'm going to do something there as well. So from there onwards, I start to do something with doing alone is with the D. It's doing something from space. It is what you do from space with the O, followed by the O, also with doing. The O is that changing itself. D is that, okay, I take that focus in space. You see how the letters are slightly up in focus. Where you focus upon, do you focus a little bit more on the physical plane and what is happening in space, or a bit more on the timings itself? The O is focusing upon the timing, so we need we need our moment. Okay, then the next letter is the N. So the N is, if we compare it to where we are in the system with the D, the N will be in the area of the material, so it should be still connected in space, but at the place where we can see the material, so it's somewhere in this region, so yeah, we have it, we have the N, and the N has also a direction, because all these timings have also a direction. It's the direction vertical, so we have the N has our vertical direction, while the O was horizontal direction. Here it is vertical direction from one point to that our option, and it is an option, meaning that it has a yes option. Where there's a yes option, there's also a no option. So this is the way of thinking of N, which I'm not going too deep into that. O was already a lot of explanations. The N will be part of a time process. We say, okay, yes, I can use it, and what I cannot use it, that will fall off. So that's that contradiction in material. It's because when you choose one direction, it also says, oh, I have to leave out a direction as well. These yes and no's can be explained in some other videos. But here we have it already, the on. So we have our space in which we will focus upon, the environmental space in which we will take out something of material that will be taken out, that we give a purpose to time it somewhere, that we can use it sometime at a certain point. That are the associations that we can have very easily with the word on. The E will be a letter from the third category. The E is from that red zone, so I will add the red zone as well, and they're all a bit distant from each other if you want to understand them, how they work. So you have that spatial frame where all what is physical, the timing frame, which when you associate it with our way how we look at the world, it's at the horizon is there as well, where the space is underneath and the sky is on top. The context making will be associated then with the sky, as a matter of speaking. It's just symbolic, but that's a very good way to associate the right things. We mostly use these things, also how you can see them used in all the esoteric and religious associations, and also with the old scripts, with the yin and yangs and so on. The heavens are that part where you say, okay, this is a general definition, which is lying in that context making region. Also, it needs a lot of explanations if you really want to have the full context of that, but that will also take us too long. The E is in that range of that context making, where we have to find the right time and place for every definition. A definition works, but it works when this definition is accomplished, and then you have the right time and space where it can have these conditions. That's more or less the way how it works. And I will just compare it also with that the E, the H, and the V a little bit. So the E will make a connection to the right timing, so it actually says I have an application at the right point. The H, or I have it in the next slide that I forgot. I'll continue from the V. So the V, if you see that in my scheme, it's all on the second position. I will take all the second positions. Second position is about how the things materialize. So how do the things materialize from the first level? So from space, yes, that's the V. I'll go also vertically with a feedback system. It says, okay, how does my feedback says where my material appears somewhere or disappears somewhere or cannot appear or will appear, will be defined with the V. The H will be will be a bit smaller. It will go to the zone of the timing. It will say, okay, when is the good timing to have conditions? The conditions in time and space are timed. So here is the good positions for the timing for the material to occur. That's what defines the H. And that's our feedback on all the changes, on all the timings. And it will give you the right time for material to appear. That's where the H comes in. And the E will give the feedback on the timed context. In the green zone, it will give a connection and it says this is the right time, this is the right application at the right time, this is the time to do that now. That's what the E will be used for. And you have already a context how we associate these positions with a contextual meaningfulness. Okay, let's now combine on and then the E on. Only. So I put the on in, so I have already a good position. And then the on in the E position again, the on, so it is making an extra detail. E is most like I insert an application, so I have the application again of on as well. The on will be repeated into the on position with another on, so I have this repetition of the form there. And that will in the end define the onion. So it's not very clear, of course, when I leave all the helping tools of surroundings and so on. So it's best that in the end I will delete what is not necessary. Of course, these frames are just the helping tools to get our right focus. But what we know already from the onion is an onion is not just a bowl like the O form. It is also a bowl which is into different layers. Which if you take them out, it will show you many of these layers, many of these forms. And that's what it is. That's my focus. The focus of O with the N. I can take something out. I can take even the slices out, and I will have them again and again if I want. I can repeat them as well. These onion, I don't know how you call it in English. These onion circles, let's say, onion rings will become visible and will be almost an expression of the word onion. And okay, when I leave out what is not necessary, it will be also clear. With E is like, okay, let's time it. Let's do a timing. Let's take it out whenever we can, whenever we want. And then when we do so, these layers of onion rings will become visible. That's an expression of these letters and letter combinations. This should be clear enough. Preparations for this kind of theory are in the book or in the YouTube channels, or you can subscribe to the Facebook page as well. Thanks again for watching. Bye.